Hello and welcome to Tricks of the Astray channel. Today is the 24th of September 2017, and on today's video we are featuring Russell Brand, the dude made popular by uh, what's the name of this lady again? What's the name of this woman that Russell Brand was dating? I'm trying to recall. Katy Perry. So the dude made popular by Katy Perry is the guy we are featuring. So we're gonna find out by the end of today's video if this guy actually stands up to the test and is the so-called funny dude that a lot of people have come to believe. But I think already a lot of people have been suspicious about it, and I've known it for a while. I didn't quite want to make a video about Russell Brand because I thought it was just way too easy to spot that anybody could do it. But after speaking with a beloved subscriber of ours through email, she told me, do make a video because a lot of people out there don't actually know that Russell Brand is not the gender that he claims to be. So in response to that, I said, okay, I will think about it, and I consulted with my team, and they said, okay, let's do it. So, but as you guys always know, if I don't have a lot of information about it, we are not just gonna make any video. We have to have information that's that can be of use. We think that we can be of use. We're not saying here right now and then that we make the best videos or we have the best information. None of that. It's just information that you can think about and have something that you can think about and make you understand your world far better. So before I go any further, if it's your first time on our channel, I'd like to welcome you. And before you go any further from watching this particular video, because this particular video is a continuation series of the myth of whiteness. Because over the period of time that we started the series, the myth of whiteness, we usually think that we've ended. But when we found out there is certain information that we didn't put out there, we have to come back and continue onwards. So with that said, I think that the myth of whiteness is going to be a continuing series. So we're not gonna end it. It's not gonna be an open-ended series just in case maybe something crops up that I think that the public should be aware of. Then we can do that. So if it's your first time on our channel, I'd like you to pause the video right here and go look for the video called the primer video. It's very, very important that you watch the primer video, because if you do not watch the primer video, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to say is not going to make any sense to you. And also, this video is a continuation series of the myth of whiteness. So you need to watch the myth of whiteness from part 1. All right, you can go look for the playlist on the channel, Myth of Whiteness. It will play the whole series for you. So this is a continuation series. So if you haven't watched the Myth of Whiteness part 1, you can watch this particular video also, because it's not going to make a lot of sense to you. So you need to watch it from the part 1. So because a lot of the things that I'm going to say on this particular video, I'm not going to be repeating things from the Myth of Whiteness series. So you need to watch the whole series. So I might just say some things and you're like, I don't understand that. That's why you need to watch the Myth of Whiteness series from part 1. And you also need to watch the primer video. The primer video is the most important video that you have to watch. So if you're a new sub or you're new to the channel and you're just picking up this video, you need to watch the primer video first. So I'm going to show you how to get to the primer video in a second. So this is the primer video. There is a playlist for it on the channel. You can look for it. I'm pointing my mouse right over it. So you need to watch this video, because this video is going to answer a lot of questions that you're going to ask me that I already answered on this video. It's very, very important that you watch the primer video. So when you click on the primer video or any other video on this channel, there's a description section. All right, I'm hovering my mouse over the description section. When you click on that link, because there's a link in the description section, it will take you to a document. The document is called Male versus Female Visual Differences. It's also very important and pertinent for you that you study this document, because this document is going to show you the male versus female visual differences, so you can actually know if someone is the gender they claim, because the schools which are owned by the Vatican and the medical associations and everything don't really teach these differences. So a lot of people, medical doctors, a lot of people who are studying anatomy or the biologists, don't really understand the visual differences between male and female. They think that the male and female visual differences is just about the genitals or the breast. But in actual sense, the male versus female vision differences lies in the skeletal structure, which is the foundation of being a human being. So with that said, when you're done watching the primer video and studying this document, which is about 44 pages, but it will take you 30 minutes or less to go through it. It just has a lot of pictures to show you those visual differences. Then you can come back and continue watching this video. But meanwhile, we've started the transvestigation already right here from this point. So I'm going to start transvestigating Russell Brand to see if he stands up to the test that he's a dude like the TV makes us believe. He's been in a lot of shows. He has a lot of comedy tours and movies and all that stuff. Dated Katy Perry, who made him popular and everything else. So we're going to try to see if Russell Brand stands up to the test. So I start with the investigation right now, and I want to show you the difference of the male and skeletal structures right here. So here is a woman to my left, and as you can see, the female has an arch in her back. The arch in her back is because the woman is going to get pregnant and is going to carry the weight of pregnancy and children. So the arch is extra support for her back. Also, a woman's pelvis is tilted forward. It's tilted forward so that a baby can stay inside the pelvic region, because without the pelvis being tilted forward for a woman, the baby will drop out. It will not stay. All right. So a woman has an arch in her back, a C-shaped arch, depending on where you draw it. You can draw an S from the top because the spine of a woman is very, very flexible also. So if a woman tries to bend her back, she's going to bend it much more than a man. If she bends it outwards, it's going to look like she has a humpback. If she bends it inwards, you're going to see a C-shaped arch in the back. So in the case of this woman right here that we're showing with the diagram, you can see that there is an arch in her back. Now for males, males don't have any arches in their back. A man's back is going to be shaped in the form of a D or a P or straight back. So I usually like using the word straight back so you know that it doesn't have an arch. If a man's back wants to arch, it's going to arch outwards like a P or a D. So I want you guys to remember that term, all right? So his man here has a straight back because men don't get pregnant, all right? Nothing can change the skeletal structure of a man. Anything that a man does is going to change only the body, the skin, all right, and the muscles, but it's not going to change the skeletal structure, because anything that tampers with your skeletal structure means right there paralysis, or you're going to end up dead, because that's the foundation of being a human being. So most people are of the idea that if a man takes maybe hormones that is going to change the skeletal structure. It's not going to change anything. The hip joints of a man are always going to be above his crotch. That is how he's designed skeletally at conception when a sperm meets an egg. Okay, the female hip joints, or the widest point where it sticks at, it's always going to be below her crotch. For a man, it's above it. No amount of surgery can change that position of that hip. All right, so I scroll further into the document just to show you that females always have an arch in their back. Okay, it's one of the requisites for being a woman, so you can be able to carry children and pregnancy. So let me scroll further into the document. So as you can see right here, there is a big female to my left, so size doesn't really matter, and a small female to my right. Okay, there's still an arch in the back and the pelvis is tilted forward. Arch in the back and the pelvis is tilted forward. It's never going to change. So some people say the size can change it. No, a woman's waist is still going to be above her belly button, because that is where the pelvis is at, the tilt of the pelvis. The highest point in the back of a woman is going to be where her pelvis is at, and it's always going to be above the belly button. If the belly button is right here, the highest tilt point, all right, of where the tilt starts, it's above the belly button, as you can see. And so that is where a female's waist is at, where that pelvis tilt is at. Okay, so you have to take note of that. And also Let's scroll further downwards just to show you that it doesn't matter about if the female's got muscles. As you can see, there is a muscular female right here, arch in the back. You can see that clearly. Muscular female right here, arch in the back. And as you can see, the hip joints, or where we have the hips, is still going to be the widest point, is going to be below the crotch. So that's what I want you guys to take notice of. So because the transvestigation on Russell Brand has just started already, as I'm going to show you in a picture right here. And here is Russell Brand with Katy Perry. And as you can see, where is that arm going around on Russell Brand's body? Because this is a woman. This is his navel right here, and this is his waist, because the highest point on the tilt of the pelvis, right, of a woman is always going to be behind that. Okay, so that's Russell Brand for you. And here you can see that this is a lady, Katy Perry, because that's where our waist is, because the navel is right around here, and the highest tilt point of that pelvis is always going to be right there above the navel for a woman. So like I was trying to say before, in this particular video, that what was I trying to say? I was trying to say that okay, hold on a second, let me show you what I was trying to say. Okay, I was trying to say that a woman's butt, all right, a woman's behind always starts way higher up, and it always starts where that tilt in that pelvis from the back is at, which is always going to be above the navel. So that's what I wanted to say. And also to show you that a female's back always arches more than that of a man. By this particular picture, as you can see here, a female arching her back. A man can't do this. You won't see this this C-shaped arch deep in a female's back. If a man tries to arch his back, he's gonna arch it, and the back is gonna have weird angles, because one, the pelvis is below the belly button. So if he tries to arch his back, what he's gonna be trying to arch is his spine. So it's going to arch it awkwardly, and you're going to see that weird L shape in that spine. It's not going to be a beautiful C deep shape curvature as the female that you're looking at right here. So that's what I wanted to show you. So let's move on. Now, with the transvestigation, I always play a video. I forgot to play the video to show you where the location of a female hip is at. So I'm going to play the video right here so you guys can see it. And this is how females get measured and put into clothes, because the female hip is below the crotch. If the clothes are not measured that way, we would have very awkward clothes for females, because it's standard everywhere in the world that a female's hips are below the crotch. So when she's being fitted into clothes, pants, skirts, or whatever she wears, all right, as clothing, you have to get that measurement right. So as you can see right here, the tape goes around the widest point on the female. As you can see, it is below the crotch, below, not above it. All right, so the woman's gonna turn around so you can actually see where it's at from the back. And as she's turning around, as you can see right there, that widest point, okay, is slightly above the bum line. That's the bum line, slightly above it, but below the crotch. As you can see, the female starts tapering down from where the widest point is at. That's where a female Q angle starts. All right, the Q angle is the angle between the hip and the knee. All right, so that's where a female's Q angle starts, and females have much more acute Q angles because the pubic arch is wider and pushes everything further apart, and also the hip joints are below the crotch. So that's what I wanted you guys to take notice of. So let's move further. So this is the points that I put out warnings for you guys to understand that this is a different kind of video. Like I've said, this is a continuation series of the Myth of Whiteness series. So if you're somebody who gets easy agitated, you're prejudiced wrongly against any ethnicity, all right, or any color of skin, this is the point that you have to pause the video right here and just quit, because I don't want you leaving me comments and getting, you know, annoyed by the fact that your so-called world that you thought, especially if you're white or albinic or an albino, as the case may be, because white people are actually albinos of black people, and you're the white person who thought now that you were so special and so different from everybody, and you get to find out that the so-called black people you've been labeling chimpanzees and crazy folk and all that kind of stuff, that there are too little and too small, there are not nobodies, and you come to find out that the same people that you were labeling as chimpanzees and monkeys, that you happen to be one of them, and you're white, you have albinic skin, and your hair is straight. So if you're that kind of person who is prejudiced or racist wrongly, okay, this is the point that you have to pause the video right here and just quit, because I don't want you coming on the comment section and trying to make me understand your anger. Okay, so just save yourself the stress and just quit the video from here, please. All right. Then also, I'm gonna be reading stuff from the Bible as well. So if you're somebody who gets easily agitated that we're using that ridiculous book that you claim has got nothing to do with what the world or how the world is today, please pause the video and quit right here. Okay? I don't save yourself the stress and save yourself the worry of having to sit through, because it's going to be a long video, and finding all that for yourself. Another warning at this point is that we do not appreciate slander on this channel. You just can't say someone is a transgender. You have to bring facts to the table. All right, you have to bring genuine facts that we can all agree on. For example, we all can agree that the earth is green. So the facts that you bring to the table can be something that we can see and know. Okay, so if you just can't say someone is transgender, you have to provide links in pictures. All right, based on what you say that the person is transgender, links in pictures or videos showing that the person has a female skeletal structure, which I just talked about. The female skeletal structure necessary for childbirth is that a woman has a wide pubic arch. All right, her pelvis is tilted forward, just like I pointed out. Okay, she has hips below the crotch so that she can be able to give birth to children and get into any activity for reproduction properly. All right, and also she has an arch in her back. So when you provide those links of the pictures that you're trying to label someone a transgender, you have to provide links of pictures showing that the person has that female skeletal structure or not. Because the only difference between a man and a woman is that one person is designed to give birth, the female is designed to give birth, and the man is not. If your comments start with anything about how boyish the person looks or how girlish the person looks, all right, the person has long ring index fingers or long index fingers in any case, or the person has long arms, long torso, has very strong chins and square jaw lines, and looks manly and has Adonis belts, we are going to delete your comments and block you and eventually ask you to unsubscribe. Okay, we don't appreciate slander, so come correct or don't come at all. All right, so now let's move on. We are on the myth of whiteness series, and this is the reason why we had to say that the myth of whiteness series is going to be an open-ended series, because we come up with information that over a time we sit down and look at the videos that we've made and we say, okay, we missed this, we missed this, we missed that, we missed that. So the reason why this particular myth of whiteness is very, very pertinent is that we have proven on the myth of whiteness series that white people, or any people who have come to call themselves white, that means long hair, straight hair, sorry, the case might be, straight hair with albinic skin in some form or the other, originated in Asia when albinos started labeling themselves as being different from black people. They started in Asia. So today we want to take a look at the culture, because some people might say, some people might not quite understand it, because we have to take a look at the culture today to see if there's any proof in the culture that albinism, which is caused by inbreeding in the family. Inbreeding means that a man's nuclear family is inbreeding amongst itself and causing the mutation of whatever let's say traits they carry to make them to be albinos. All right, so we want to take a look at the culture and see if the culture supports albinism. because this is one thing that we have to take a look at. And it's very, very important because, like I've said before, it's important that you study history. History is the most important thing that you have to study, because history tells you who you are, defines you. Without history, you don't know who you are and you don't know where you're going from. And like I always give this example in the sense that history is so important, and I give this analogy in this fact that if a man, for example, had $1 million up till yesterday, and his memory was wiped up till yesterday, and how would the man know today that he had $1 million? He wouldn't know. History is very, very important. The Vatican, who runs this world and who's responsible for the organized transgendering of young children, taking children from an early age and making them to live in a gender and sex that's different from the gender and sex that they were born with, take history very, very important. So somebody might say history is not important. A lot of people don't really care about history. But you can see that in your daily lives, history is the most important thing. And I'm going to give you an example. So an example is this. History tells people who you are. It defines you, okay? So when you go looking for a job, all right, a job tells you to bring a resume. What is your resume? Your resume is your history. It shows what you have done, who you are, if you can be trusted. So without that resume, a job will not take you, because they don't know who you are, they haven't seen what you've done, and so you can't be trusted. So that's how important history is, because history defines who you are. It tells you who you are. It tells if you can be trusted. So everybody has to be interested in their history. Don't give up the writing of history to the so-called fake organizations of trust, all right? I call them organizations of liars. It doesn't matter if the United Nations, because they're all run by the Vatican, like I've said before. If you're new to this, then you need to watch the whole series and understand what I'm saying. So you can put your history in someone else's arm. Let me tell you how important this is. So for example, let's say that you're sitting at a table, all right? Because many people don't know how to write resumes. They'll tell somebody else to do that for them, all right? So let's take in, for example, that you tell somebody to write your resume for you, and you're sitting with the person and you trust the person absolutely, because this is what we do, right? We trust these organizations of trust, which are actually organizations of liars, all right, to write the history. So this person sits down with you and tries to write your resume. Now, you have given that person the power to write anything and everything about you without your consent. Because whosoever holds the pen to write that resume for you is taking full control of your life. The person can write anything in there. So if you're not interested in like reading and knowing what was written, and you fully trust him, who knows what he might put in there? So it's very, very important that you take your history seriously. Very, very important. Everybody should be writing history, their history, studying history, because without history, like I said, you wouldn't know who you are. You can not define who you are, because the mess that we're in right now, if black people, because I've said technically speaking, everybody's black, if everybody have taken their history literally, we wouldn't be in the mess that we are today. We wouldn't be handing ourselves and our lives over to groups of organizations of trust, which are groups or organizations of liars who have none of our interests at heart, only the interest that benefits them and keeps them in power. So take your history seriously. Now, someone might say that I'm ranting a little bit over there, but it is important that I had to say that. So if you're the kind of person who says I talk too much, this is not the video for you, all right? So let's move on now. So I'm in the 7-minute delusional comment section right now, but before I get into the 7-minute delusional comment section, I want to give a thanks and props to a very great subscriber we have. Her name is called Queen of Her Universe. Queen of Her Universe, I want to thank you for bringing this article to me. Now, when Beyonce, now this article is about Beyonce, so if you're interested in reading about it, you can pause the video at any point in time and copy out that link and go look it up yourself. Now, when Beyonce gave birth, all right, fake birth, because you know Beyonce's a dude at this point. If you don't know that, please go look for the playlist on Beyonce on this channel, and we give you tons and tons of facts to show you that Beyonce's a dude. Facts that you can agree with and come to terms with, just like we can agree that the grass is always green. Grass is green, okay? So now let's take a look at this particular article. When Beyonce came out and gave birth, I wasn't really interested in reading this particular article or anything about it. They said she came up with this picture. Let's see if I can scroll down into the picture. Now, you guys remember this picture, right? It showed Beyonce on Instagram carrying two children, wearing this particular cloth, and people were saying that people who had eyes to see, not the simple-minded people, were looking at this and like, it looks like Photoshop and everything else. But we don't really care if it's Photoshop or not. Now, what is of interest is what has been written about this particular dress that Beyonce is wearing, and I want to show you in this particular article. So I'm going to scroll up to the point where I highlighted. It says here about the clothing that Beyonce wore on the particular picture while revealing her so-called twins. It says here, the original outfit was part of the brand Spring-Summer 2017 collection and was first modeled by a man in the company's lookbook. So it's funny how, you know, the Vatican always puts, you know, clips and cues to let you know that the favorite transgender, or that Beyonce is actually a man, without, because people won't read this and understand and see the details. So that's why I always advise people to, you know, look with your eyes and see with your brain, because how would you make a nursing mother, somebody who just gave birth, all right? And let's think about it logically. It doesn't make any sense for you to let us know that Beyonce's clothes that she was wearing was first modeled by a man. It's no news, because anybody could do anything. That shouldn't be put in this article. Why should we be interested in the clothing when we should be interested in the twins, in the children that she gave birth to? But these guys just slipped that in there, all right? Why? Because they're kind of mocking you. They're telling you the truth in plain sight, that you're looking at a man, that the clothes that Beyonce is wearing was first modeled by a man, showing you that Beyonce is a dude. All right? So that's just what I wanted to show you. They just wanted to put that in there in slide form, and people don't actually catch it. So that's all what I wanted to show you, and give thanks to the queen of her universe for bringing this article into memory and pointing that out to us. Thank you so much, Queen of the Universe. So let's move on. So the 7-minute delusional comment section features a dude by the name of Paulo Reyna. This dude is very, 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 I don't know the right word to use, but this dude is very delusional. He makes me laugh. Okay? I'm going to read the story so you guys can actually see how delusional he is, because he's sitting around right now and he's going through the whole entire comment sections and just saying something about me, and he think he's gonna piss me off. You know, the Vatican agents try so many things, all right? They try to make me they try to make us look like we are foolish, you know, especially not just me but everybody else that is watching our channel. They try to make you think like what you know and you don't know. Then they try so many angles. They come at the angles like, you know, everybody's a transgender, so they can hide the transgenders. Then they try to make everybody feel that way. If it doesn't work, they try so many weird things, you know, just to make you disbelieve what facts that you're looking at, all right? But the facts will always prevail and the truth will always show itself. So this dude in Paulo Reyna makes me laugh, all right? So I'm gonna read what actually happened here. So if you see Paulo Reyna on this channel and he's making a comment, I just want you to make note. I want you to take notice and know that he's a very delusional fellow. So Paulo Reyna said, Depp also, all right? I thought he was a new subscriber, so I sent him a response, because he was saying from watching the Shakira video, because in the Shakira video I think I pointed out, or I think one of those videos I pointed out that Depp, it was I think it was actually the Leonardo, I think it was the Leonardo video in which I pointed out that Depp was actually a man, Johnny Depp. And this dude, I think he watched the video, and then he came back to the Shakira video. I'm not sure, but it's one of those videos. But he responded and said Depp also. So I sent him, because we know we don't appreciate slandering on a channel. So I responded to him and said, Paul Lorena, I believe you're an old sub, because I think I've seen him comment before. And I said, I believe you're an old sub by now. There are channel rules on labeling someone a transgender. We expect you to abide by such if you do not have the facts based on the female skull structure and links or pinks of videos showing that the person you believe to be a transgender has or does not have hips below the crotch and arch in the back, wide pubic arch until the pelvis wall. Refrain from bringing the person's name in the comment section to avoid being blocked and being asked to unsubscribe. If you want to ask questions, send me an email. Email is the same as the channel name at gmail.com. So I sent him that. The rest, telling him that he should not, there's a channel rules on how to label someone as transgender. So he sent me a video link, all right? He said, I agree, it's not 100% proof, but so aren't yours. So let's look at the video link that he sent to us, okay? So if you're interested in this video that Paul Lorena sent to me, you can actually pause the video and copy out that link and go look it up. So, but I watched the video, and the video is just pure speculation, as many of the so-called Vatican, videos are made. There's so many channels out there on the subject of transgenders, confusing people by pure speculation. I don't want to go into names, but you can actually see that. So this delusional dude in Paul Lorena sent me this video, and I sat through the video. I didn't sit through it actually because I knew it was false, because the facts that they present here are flimsy. Even a 3-year-old or 2-year-old could spot it and say, Mama, you were lying about this. You know what I mean? So I told Paul Lorena after looking at this. So let me go back to read a comment. I told him, Paul Lorena, you're the kind of person who is lazy and refuses to put your brain to work. Too lazy to do your own investigation. Because remember, on this channel, I'm not saying that I provide the best information. We are not laying claim to any of that. What we are doing is just providing information. It's left for you to scrutinize it, go do your own investigation, and find out if what we say is real or true. We are presenting just facts, okay? I want you guys to remember that. We're not saying that we're doing the best job, we're great, or none of that. We're not taking credit for anything. We're just providing information. That's all we're doing, okay? It's left for you to decide if the information is valid or it's not. You can leave it or throw it away, okay? So Paul Lorena now says, I now said to Paul Lorena, sorry to say, I said, Paul Lorena, you're the kind of person who's lazy and refuses to put your brain to work, too lazy to do your own investigation. You rather piggyback off someone else's belief instead of finding it out if it's true. If you ever send me someone else's work as proof, instead of putting your back into it and doing yours as proof, I will block you for wasting my comment section. This channel is not for everyone, and I did not ask you to watch the video and leave non-verifiable evidence. If you can't put your brain to work and bend down and investigate, don't come up here again. Since you are lazy, congratulate yourself. I worked for you. You happy now? Proof Johnny Depp is male below, straight back of a male. So I'll go into the details of spending time to show this guy that Johnny Depp is actually male. Now, a lot of people say that maybe I'm blunt and I'm rude, and that I don't know how to communicate with my subscribers. Now, people, I want you to take, I've said this before, I want you to think about this from my own perspective, okay? Now, I have a team behind me. So that means I have people who take a look at the pictures and they verify that what we're looking at is correct. I have people who watch the videos after it's being made to actually see if it's correct, all right? And I have people who put up the videos. I have people working, all right? It's not like, and you guys, you have to understand this. We are not getting paid to do any of this. We are just doing it because, as Martin Luther King said, that silence sometimes can be treason, all right? So we are just thinking that we should help other people who are interested in finding out the truth. We are not getting paid to do this. We're doing this out of just a pure, let's say, a pure sense of duty to humanity by the grace of Yahushua, grace of God Almighty, that we feel that people should know this. All right? So we're not getting paid for this. So that's the first thing you have to understand. So then next, even though I have a team behind me, I take it upon myself to be the one to read the comments, all right, and respond to it. Why do I take that responsibility? Because I think that it would be better for one person to respond to the comments so that the comments can sound can sound linear, can sound like the same person. Because if you have too many people responding to the comments from our team, you're going to know that this person sounds different. It seems like it's not the same person talking, because we all have a different manner of approach in writing and speaking. Does it make sense? So you wouldn't know it's the same person. It kind of sound off. So I decided to take it upon the responsibility to answer the comment sections just by myself, so it could always sound like it's coming from the same person. So guys, you have to understand that I read through so many comments and try to respond to them every day, because like I've said before, the best way to reach me is through email. All right, send me an email. The email is the same as the channel name at gmail.com. I've said that before. So you can imagine that if I'm the only one responding to comments, it's a whole lot of work, and I'm responding to emails as well. So I try to be short as possible, to the point. I don't have time to be playing around and with words or spending too much time trying to type things out. I'm going to be precise and to the point. So sometimes people think, they say I come off as being too rude or being blunt. I'm full of myself and all of that. It's got nothing to do with that. I just have a lot of comments to respond to and a lot of emails as well. So that's why I try to tell people, okay, if you want me to respond to your email also, you make sure that you have one subject on each email. If you have 10 questions, all right, take one question at a time with each subject on each email, with that particular subject. Don't ask too many questions. Just ask one subject on each email, all right? Just ask one question rather on one email so I can respond accordingly. So going back into Paulo Reyna right now. So Paulo Reyna, I now after this, I sent him verifiable proof that Johnny Depp is actually male. If you guys want to take a look at the proof right here, you can actually go look for the comment on Paulo Reyna. I think it's going to be on the Shakira video, and you can actually see the proof that I laid out. And we'll feature Johnny Depp on a real gender, not transgender or transsexual series in the near future. So I showed a bunch of stuff to show that Johnny Depp was actually male. So this guy comes back to me and he says this. Paulo Reyna comes back to me and said, okay, so let me get this straight. You claim that research and investigation by others is piggybagging. He can't even spell piggybagging here, right here. This is a very delusional fellow. So let me ask you, why do you make videos for others and not just tell others to do their own research? I never said that. I just told him, show me your proof. Is it that you feel, I'm thinking is spelling that special, that only videos made by you are genuine, or that you are the only person that finds the truth? Have I ever said this? I have never said this. So this is how these delusional people are, all right? because they can't think with their brain. Their brain is so messed up because from all the brainwashing that the Vatican has provided to them with the drugs that they're taking through food, hormones, or water, or whatever. They're so messed up they can't even think straight. And he's attacking me here because I never said this. As you can see, the comments was about, show me proof that you say that Johnny Depp is female. He's not the gender that he claims. That's what it was all about. And look at what he's saying already. He say, I see you have a URL up here named Bible Study Tools. Now, you believe in the Bible. Does that mean you walked beside Jesus and saw all happenings by your own? Can you see how delusional this fellow is? So he's saying that since I didn't walk by Jesus, the Bible is probably not false. So if I'm reporting from the Bible, that means I'm reporting something false. Now, the mistake a lot of these delusional punks think about is that they think I'm a Christian. It just makes me laugh. You know, when the Vatican agents, the Vatican, let me just show you how the Vatican works. You know, they preach all this laid down Christianity. If someone slaps you on the cheek, turn the other cheek and take a couple more. All right. But I've told these fellows time and time again, I am not a Christian. So if you're coming to me with that Christian line and angle, all right, you probably are messing up, backing up the wrong tree, because I'm a bad virus. That's just fact. So, but someone's going to say, Tricks of the Ashtray, do you want to tell me right now that you are not a Christian? So what are you? Well, it's left for you to decide. You can keep on watching the video. That's what you should be interested about. So he says, not sure what your problem is, but you are a tool of contradiction. And don't worry, I will for sure subscribe. I don't know, maybe you wanted to say unsubscribe here. You worthless trick page, because it's just repeat on repeat. Before telling me to block me and telling me I'm lazy, why not just start it with some more proof, same as do right now? Do you have a Depp crush? See where this dude is going? You guys have read the comment section. Did it sound like I had a Depp crush? Because this sounds like somebody who is homosexually affiliated. He probably has a Depp crush. So this is when I went off on this dude. I said, Paulo Reyna, others take the time to do something. What are you doing besides running your filthy mouth? I have a Depp crush. When your comment started by saying I'm wrong that Depp is a female, with chumped up facts by another delusional punk like you slandering people's name at will, and I am the one with the crush. Why don't you say the truth? You have a Depp crush and you wish he was female so you could, to him, you guys can read that. I'm sure you're a closet. Why don't you say so? You admire Depp's. Now I'm adding a whole bunch of expletives now. Now you were sly telling me I'm the one with the crush instead of admitting to truth of your feelings for that man. Because I'm thinking from the way he sounds, he's the one that has feelings. He's trying to make me look like the one that I'm having feelings for Johnny Depp. So have I ever said that I know anything besides sharing information? Well, you can, guys, I don't want to go read too much, but you can go look it up if you guys are interested. So here is a very delusional fellow in Paulo Reyna. Delusional to the point that he thinks, because he himself can't put his brain to work, he's trying to make me look like the crazy, odd person out. And people, one of the things they don't know, because I'm just trying to explain where most of these guys, right, homosexuals and transgenders are very, very bold. Okay. They're bold to come out and say, okay, I'm gay. They make evil look like it's right. And people are buying into this. All right. So for me, the reason why I am so bold about saying what I'm saying is because I used to be a very shy kid growing up. I'm not going to even lie about it. I used to be so shy, it was ridiculous. But my mom had to talk to me and tell me, son, you have to be bold. Be bold to stand up for what's right and say it. Well, my mom taught me that, and I started standing up to be bold to say what I'm saying, all right? But later on, as I got to find out, as the homosexual agenda became very prevalent in our society, and I was sitting and thinking to myself while trying to understand life and understand this world, and I thought to myself, if a homosexual can be so proud of his homosexuality And a transgender can be so proud of their transgender, and they can come out at will, night and day, in public, and be very proud of something that is so disgusting. Playing in poop, as homosexuals do. Licking in poop, which is very disgusting, because that's something dogs do. It's dogs that eat their own poop. Now, if homosexuals can be proud of this, how much more me? Why shouldn't I be bold enough to say what I'm supposed to be saying and be not afraid of anybody else? So homosexuality is very despicable, but I learned something from it. I learned how to be bold, and that's what I expect you guys out there to be bold. Do not lay down low. Do not turn the other cheek on this fake Christian agenda that the Vatican uses to control your mind, because that's what makes people sick. That's what has made people weak, because they think that God is going to show up and take care of them when you're supposed to take care of yourselves. They forget that the Bible that they read, which is laid on the foundation of Hebrew, the ancient black Hebrews, that the Hebrews fought wars. War is not for the weakly. They fought wars. They were told to invade by God. They did all that. They were strong men. So when you go and take a portion of the Bible and read that you don't understand, that says turn the other cheek when you get slapped, you don't even know what you're saying. So that's what I just wanted to share with you guys on this Paul Lorena subject of 7-minute delusional session. I'm sorry that it went past 7 minutes. So let's move on now and go talk about some other stuff, and then we'll still be investigating Russell Brand as we go along. So people, I wanted to get down with the delusional comment section, but Paul Lorena is still on me. He won't give up. So he sent me a message a couple of minutes ago. So he said, here's his message. He said, keep on going. The more you type, the more you show your frustrated inner. You keep on mentioning Depp's ass. So it's clear where your interest is. You probably make these videos to hide the fact that you're everything you accuse me from. Please do a video about Depp to see if it's what I think. Leave the homosexual insulting insults and do some real work for you frustrated Momo's boy. So Paulo Reda is still on my case. Okay, so people, well, this is gonna be a 2-for-1. So let's really try to investigate Johnny Depp, because I responded to Paulo Reda and I said, Paulo Reda, I'm doing a video now on you and your loss for Johnny Depp. It's going to be called Is Russell Brand Transgender? Myth of Whiteness Part 9. Watch it. I talk about your love for Johnny Depp and I investigate him also. So since I responded to him, let's just investigate and see if Johnny Depp is actually female, so Paulo Reda can get off my back. Okay, let me go to the response that I made here in the first place to show you that Paulo Reda is actually the sex that he's claimed. So I'm gonna click on some links and then you're gonna say, so the first link, he says straight back of a male. So we're gonna pull up a picture of Johnny Depp. As you can see right there, Johnny Depp's back is shaped like a P. All right, P, straight back. You see there is no arch in that back. It's straight into the pelvis because Johnny Depp is male. So let's look at the next thing that I said about Johnny Depp here. Let's look at another link, and same link. And as you can see, there's another picture right there. Johnny Depp has a straight back, straight into the pelvis because he is male. Okay, let's take a look at another link again. And here is another picture of Johnny Depp. As you can see, it's a straight back, the straight back of a male, because Johnny Depp is male. Let's take a look at another picture right here. And I said with this one, widest point in the hip sticking out is above the crotch, and his Q angle starts there. So let's take a look. As you can see, Johnny Depp, his crotch right here. As you can see, the widest point is above it, above right there, above right here. His crotch right here, widest point is above because he is male. That's where his Q angle starts. Okay, so let's take a look at another picture and see if what I'm saying still stands. And here's another picture of Johnny Depp right here. As you can see, his crotch is right here, and the widest point right where the it starts to taper, it's going down, it's above the crotch right there. Right there, it's above, because Johnny Depp is male. Even though, you know, the Vatican has always been trying to effeminize men for a very long time. So this is a clear case of trying to effeminize a man by making him wear a crop top and making him look this way. So let's look at some other pictures of Johnny Depp so that Paulo Reyna can get off my back. Because he's still asking me questions. As you can see right there, here's Johnny Depp's crotch right there. Okay, I can't really blow up the picture that much. It won't show right there. And here it's where it starts to taper as it goes down, the Q angle of a man. Let me see if I can find another picture up there that I send. I have so many pictures up here, but I think the few that I've showed so far should actually show you that Johnny Depp is actually a man. Let's click on another one right here and see what I said about it. Let me see if it's gonna come up. The picture's kind of slow. Let's close that out. Now let's see if you can find something, just one more picture, because I just wanted to show. Okay, that one is not big enough. You guys would need to click on that to see that. Let's see. All right, here is perfect. So now here is the picture that I show that Johnny Depp's you know, shoulders are sticking out outside the torso of the body. As you can see, there is a clear sticking out of the shoulders outside the torso of the body. You can see that the chest muscles, there's a clear separation between the chest muscles and the abdominal muscles under. All right, it's not melted in or merging or having problems like a woman should be. And as you can see that Johnny Depp here has the lean fat muscle tissue of a man. Okay, so Johnny Depp is 100% male and no transgender. And with that, I hope that Paulo Reyna now's question has been answered and he can get off this comment section, because he's just cracking me up. Okay, let's move further, people. So we're still in subject of transvestigation. As you can see right here, Russell Brand has an arch in his back, and the waist point of Russell Brand is high above his belly button, just like the woman on his right, which happens to be Katy Perry. You can see they have the same hip roundness and length. See that right there? Let me see if I can blow it up as much as I can. You can see right around there, he has the same hip, just like Katy Perry. As you can see, Russell Brand is a woman. All right, arch in the back, hips above, hip starts above the belly button like a woman should be, because he is a woman. So let's move on. Next picture on Russell Brand, as you can see right here, he's trying to put his hands above his waist, or put his hands or place his hands on his waist. And as you can see, that's his belly button right there, and hands are above the belly button because Russell Brand is a woman. As you can see, he's a very weird looking woman because he has a beard, and he's been trying to tell you guys that he's actually male when he's a woman. As you can see, the hips start spreading all the way downwards. All right, now because of his stance, now here's one thing I have to point when you're trying to find the location of a female's hip. Now this stance here can be very, very confusing. You can actually think that the widest point in the hip is right here. So when you're looking at pictures for transvestigation, you have to take close notice of the stance. If the stance is this way with one leg extended forward and, you know, cocking the hips right, you have to look at it carefully to see if that is correct or not. So you don't get sucked into the trap into thinking that the hips of a woman are above the crotches because of the stance, and because she has the way the legs are placed has moved the pelvis. It's into an awkward shape, so it looks like it's above the crotch. So that's just what I wanted to make you guys take notice of. So let's move forward. Now, so we're still on the myth of whiteness, and what I wanted to when I started the video, I wanted you guys to I was trying to make you guys see that the culture in Asia permits inbreeding. All right, because inbreeding is the reason for albinism, and we're going to take a look at certain other things just to make you understand how the foundation of racism started in Asia. Asia is the foundation for everything racist. All right, it still is, even up to this point. And like I've said before on the Myth of Whiteness series, that the white people, the white Vatican who runs the world today know that their origins come from Asia. So that's why they bring in Asians into the United States of America and any other place around the world when they're trying to make the place whiter. If they notice that the population is getting darker, they employ Asians. They make the Asians countries to be a powerhouse because that is where they're from. So that's why all the manufacturing businesses are in Asia, whether it be India and all this. We'll go over a list to show you the Asian countries. The countries which are called to be in the Asian continent. So well, and like I'm saying before, we want to see if the culture permits inbreeding. So, for example, the Vatican has made us believe that blacks in West Africa, the West Africans or whatsoever, sold their children into slavery. That's how slaves came into the Americas, which is utter nonsense. The slaves that were America were black people already in the Americas. They did not come from Africa. That's just fact. So when you take a look at the culture of West Africans, does the culture still sell people? No. I have known a lot of West Africans, and none of them, both of the old generation or the older generation, and none of this permits it. Okay? Black in West Africans don't sell their children. They don't sell people. Because that's why I'm saying we should be able to study history, because when you study history, history is going to tell you, when you study real history, not popular history or popular culture makes it to be, you start seeing the answers that you're looking for. So when we go to Asia, because like we've said before on the Myth of Whiteness series, that albinism being practiced to be an ethnicity or a race as it is today started in Asia. We're going to open up your eyes to see that. So we're going to study the culture and see if the culture permits inbreeding. Now, the first thing that we have to define here before we go any further is look at the countries that are said to be in Asia. The countries being let's say agreed upon that these countries are Asian countries. All right. So it says here, I went to a website. I just found this online. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but just for the purposes of this particular video, we'll say we'll call out those countries that we think are Asians. Okay. It says here, you can pause the video at any point in time and copy out the link and see. It says here alphabetical list of countries in Asia. It starts with Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Brunei. But let's really take a look at those countries that we really call Asia. All right. Cambodia, China. China is Asian. Cambodia is, let's say, Cyprus, Georgia, India, Indonesia. These are the main countries. India, Indonesia, Iran, Iraq. I don't think Iran, Iraq, and Israel, but the Vatican is always trying to tell people a lot of lies. So this website could be a lie for all I know, because Israel right there, they say it's in the Middle East. So I don't know if it's Asia or well, but they say this is the Asian continent. So let's just agree with them and keep going. Japan, Jordan, then you have Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Kyrgyzstan, Laos, Lebanon, Malaysia, Maldives, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, North Korea, Oman, Pakistan, Palestine, Philippines, Qatar, and Russia, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Syria, Taiwan, Tajikistan, Thailand, Timor-Leste, Turkey, Turkmenistan, United Arab Emirates, Uzbekistan, Vietnam, and Yemen. So these are the countries they say are in Asia. Now, if we take a look at the Asian map, all right, let's see if we can find images of the countries in Asia right here. Just hold on a second. Okay, am I in the right spot? Okay, hold on, I'm trying to find out. Hold on. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Hold on a second. Okay, I found the picture that I was trying to look at, and here are the countries that they say are in Asia. All right, the Asian map, this whole area right here. So it starts from as farther eastwards as Turkey, and as farther westwards down into Japan and East Timor and all these other places right here. They say these countries are all Asian countries. So we're going to try to see if the culture, or I'm going to try to prove to you if the culture permits inbreeding in Asia. And then we're going to explain some certain other things on how the racism in Asia came to be in the form that it is today. We'll just make you have a perfect understanding of that. So let's move on further. Now, to start with, to see if the culture in Asia permits inbreeding, I want to start at some place that we can all understand. So first of all, I'm showing you pictures of because one of the most popular religions that is being practiced in Asia is the religion of Buddha. All right. I don't know. Now, Buddha, people have to understand this. When you say Buddha, Buddha means the enlightened one. It's a title, okay? So when you say Buddha, it means the enlightened one, and they practice this religion in Asia for the most part. Besides, being a Muslim or Islam is the newest religion in the world. That's just fact. A lot of Muslims may not like it, but that's just truth. Muslims is the one of the newest religions in the world, and the oldest religions in that part of Asia before Islam was the practice of Buddha or Buddhism, as it's called today. So as you can see right here, the images of Buddha, all authentic images of Buddha throughout Asia were black. All right. Now, today, if you go looking for the images of Buddha, you might see this kind of person, this Asian here, this albino Asian putting on a cornrow. But we all know fact that white people or anybody who has albinic skin and straight hair can't put on a cornrow for too long, because after like maybe an hour or 2 hours, it just starts coming out. It's only black, woolly, or nappy hair, as the case might be, is able to carry cornrows for so long and not have any problems, because the hair is more compact and tighter than a straight hair. But if you go looking, because the white supremacist Vatican will always try to tell you a lie such as this, you see them make this black and white picture and put on this albino Asian in here with cornrows to make you think that this is what Buddha looked like. No, all images of Buddha weren't like this fake person trying to imitate Buddha right here. They were like this. You could see actually the cornrows, the small tight curls. I don't know how to explain this. Small tight curls that only black people can put on because the hair can support it. White person can do this. All right. They only show you the cornrows here, but they won't show you this one. Why? Because they can make a lie the truth. That's just fact. So when you look at the images of Buddha, you always see that Buddha always has this small tight curls on his head. All right. And then they'll tell you such lies as like, that Buddha had snails. That's what they like saying and trying to interpret that, trying to hide the fact. Now, there is a reason why these people are hiding, the idea that black people, all right, were Asians. Black people, as black people with slant eyes, I've already proved that before on a video, we're actually Asian with woolly or nappy hair, as the case might be, and that this kind of guys right here are the new breed. All right, they just happen to arrive on the scene not too long ago and be in power, but it was the culture that permitted albinism to be spread to Asia, which we are going to show you today. It's still prevalent in the society in Asian countries. So let's move on further. Now, in order to understand the culture, all right, of Asians, we have to study one of the most popular religions, the oldest religion in Asia, which happens to be the religion of the Buddha, all right, the religion of the enlightened one, because that's what Buddha actually means. So here I'm on a web page, and you can pause the video at any point in time and copy out that link right there and go read up on yourself. Now, we start the study of Buddha with a type of Buddhism, because Hinduism, or being a Hindu, is a type of Buddhism, a type of Buddhist practice. So the religion of Buddha had many factions in it. Okay, it had many factions, and just like fake Christianity has many factions today. Okay, so Buddha, the practice of Buddha, also had many factions. So one of them is called Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, Mahayana. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that Mahayana Buddhism is it's white Buddhism. The reason being, when you study the history of Buddhism, you get to find out that the Buddhas, the those nice Buddha, um, what do you call those nice Buddha statues that you have around the world, and the Buddha literature, that the earliest known language in which the literature of Buddha was written with is not existent in Asia today. Okay, current Buddha writings are now in the language called Sanskrit. It's an Indian language. But when you trace, if you study the history of Buddha, you get to find out that the earliest languages of Buddha wasn't Sanskrit as it is today. Now, Mahayana Buddhism is the practice of Buddhism based on race and language. Now, before Buddhism was separated into a racial and linguistic type of Buddhism, there were other languages which were like the foundation for Buddha that Buddha practiced. Okay, so that's the best way to put it. Now, Mahayana is a new form of Buddhism which separated, all right, from the earliest form of Buddhism into a language, separated the practice of the religion into a language and race. So Mahayana Buddhism, which is practiced in current day, right, Asia today, is practiced based on race and linguistic, race and language. So now one of the oldest paintings of Buddha, like I said, the older paintings of the statues are all black. All right. There's what they call the Lotus Sutra, sorry to say. So the Lotus Sutra would be sort of like a scripture reference, just like you would have the Bible for the so-called Christians. It's like a scripture reference for the practice of Buddha. So if you read on this particular website, he says here, as you can see here, it said the Lotus Sutra. I want to show you how this is being put into a lie. The Lotus Sutra, or the white lotus of the sublime Dharma. I want you to take notes of the words. The white lotus, all right, is one of the most popular and influential Mahayana sutras in East Asia, and the basis on which the Nichiren sects of Buddhism were established. So you reading right there. Now, I'm going to provide some information for you. The original Lotus Sutra paintings were not white or Mahayana Buddhism, as this web page wants you to believe, because this is what the white supremacists in the Vatican and the culture over there wants people to believe, that the Lotus Sutra is white. But the Lotus Sutra was never white. It was black. So this is some sort of misinformation into not making people to understand that Buddha was black, as the case might be, because all the statues of Buddha have cornrows and tight curls, which only black people with nappy hair can have. And some of the ancient statues all there carry that, showing that it was black people. So we'll make you understand this a little bit more, but let's just show you a picture of the Lotus Sutra, in which it's the scripture that is used to practice Buddhism, because it says here the Lotus Sutra is well known for its extensive instruction on the Buddhist concept and usage of skill, means upaya. This Buddhist scripture is also particularly interesting for its description of the Buddha as the loving father of all being, who cares for everyone with great compassion. All right. So, but they say here that the Lotus Sutra, right, or the white lotus, Mahayana, is the same thing as white. In East Asia, they depict the Lotus Sutra to be a white Buddha or white incarnation or white whatever. They call it a white sutra, when it ought not to be that way, because it was a black painting. All right. So I'm going to show you a picture of the Lotus Sutra. Now, before I show you a picture of Lotus Sutra, I want to show you something that is well documented in the histories, but is not made popular by the white supremacists because they don't want you to know this. Now, since we're talking about Asia, and India is a part of Asia, and we're going to be talking about the caste system, which is also a type of which is practiced upon the Mahayana Buddhism, which is actually racist, to show you that that part of the world was black, was made by black people with nappy hair. And over centuries, it changed into this because of the practice of inbreeding, which Asians do. We want to show you all that proof today. So now this page or this picture that you're looking at is by is a story about Herodotus, the father of history. All right, and he writes this about India. He said, Herodotus writes about India. All the tribes I mentioned, their skins are all of the same color, much like the Ethiopians, black people. Now, when they say Ethiopians, if you look at Ethiopians today, there are still black people with woolly hair. So that India was still that part of the world in which, okay, black people with nappy hair existed. And he says yes, and he says yeah. Now upon his return, let me try to see if I can blow this up as much as I can, so you guys can see perfectly clearly. He says here, and upon his return to Greece, all right. Upon his return to Greece, they gathered around and asked, "Tell us about this great land of the blacks called Ethiopia." See, great land of the blacks called Ethiopia. Asking him about India, all right? And Herodotus said there are two great Ethiopian nations, one in Sin, India, and the other in Egypt, okay? So that even goes to show you that Greece was a black nation, because no white person, if your country is white, is going to travel to a strange nation that's made of black people. They might probably not welcome you because you don't look like them. So India, for a point in time, was all black people with nappy hair. We want to show you how the culture of what they were doing was changing the people slowly into albinos, and the whole area of Asia into albinos as we have today, in which they call white people. So let's move further. So here's a painting of the Lotus Sutra in, I think the oldest painting of Lotus Sutra can be found in a cave in China. So if you're really interested in figuring this out, and you're a historian and you want to study, you can go to China, and I think they'll find you, and you can actually look for the Lotus Sutra, the oldest painting, and you find that the oldest painting is black. As black as the case might be, as just you're seeing right here. Now, one of the lies that the white supremacist Vatican and the people in Asia will tell you when you ask them, why is the painting of Buddha or the Lotus Sutra black, as the case might be right here? Why is it black? They'll bring up so many other excuses, but the one logical question you have to ask them is this. If you're a white person, and you say that you run the world and you're the greatest of all, why would you make a mistake in portraying yourselves to be black? That doesn't fly. Does it make sense? That's just common logical sense, because the Buddha, or the people who practice the Buddha, or the enlightened ones, were actually black people. I'm going to show you some of the stuff to make you understand this perfectly. Now, in Asia, there is a caste system, okay? Caste system, system in which people are placed in society, or made to be placed in society according to a certain way. But first of all, let me show you some other pictures of the Lotus Sutra before I go any further. Here's another picture of the Lotus Sutra, and you can see that even though it's not very clear, this picture was not taken rightly, you can see there's still black folk, all right? The pictures are black, sorry to say. The people portrayed are black. Let me see if I can find any other clear ones. Okay, here's still another one right there. As you can see, the paintings are still black, all right? Let me see if I can find another one that's clear enough. I think that's all I have for the Lotus Sutra. I had another picture I wanted to show you guys on how the pictures are trying to be whited out in Buddhist countries around the world. Let me show you a clear example of that. So here is an example of the white supremacist Vatican and the Asians who happen to be albinic today try to portray themselves as, try to portray themselves into the older paintings of Buddha to make them appear white. So you can see right here, there is a whitening going on here, but you can see the hair right there still looks like nappy black or woolly hair, as the case might be. But when you look behind you, you can see they started whitening out the main focuses of these pictures here, but these ones here are not completely whited out, because as you can see right here, there is someone praying. All right, you can see there's a man's hands or someone's hands right there, but the pictures are not as white as this one because they couldn't succeed in making it so white. As you can see, even around the edges of the hair right here, you can see that this is still like a tan right there at that edge right there is of the same color with this one. This shows you that there's been tampering. So the white Buddhist paintings that you have today that try to make it look like the original black ones are actually fabrications, because the so-called white people who are in Asia today are trying to ingrain themselves into history and remove the black Buddhist histories behind it. But they still, believe that these black statues are so sacred. They don't some of them believe they're so sacred, so they try to shy away from actually whitewashing it. But other people are very bold about it. So let me show you another example of how the popes pray to a black Madonna, black paintings. But they are contradiction in themselves, in the sense that they are the ones perpetrating the racism that is in this world, based on the fact that they know their history and how they came into power today. So let me just show you that. So here is Pope Francis and Pope Benedict, the former Pope, praying to a black Madonna in the Vatican right here. As you can see, they're praying to a black Madonna, but they don't want people to understand the fact that we are all black people. They're perpetrating a fraud, but inside in their closets they pray to a black Madonna. Another picture right here, you can see Pope Francis and Pope Benedict praying to this black picture of a Madonna, Satan himself in whatever form that he comes, or whatever form that he appears or makes them believe that he is. He's a black man. He is a man. Someone's going to say, oh, why would you say that Satan is a man? The Bible clearly says that he's a serpent. Let me show you from the Bible that Satan is a man. So hold on. Now, the portion of the Bible I'm reading from to show you that Satan is a man is going to be from Genesis chapter number 3 in the King James or Geneva Bible. You can read from verse number 1. And it says here, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Now, the right rendering for that portion, because it's being interpreted wrongly, would have said that now that's it should have said Satan here, right, or Lucifer, was more subtle than any creation of the field. Any beast of the field means any creature of the field, that any creature of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, I want you to take notice of this word, he. That means you only say someone is a he. You don't say an animal is a he, right? You say someone is a he. You clearly define. So that goes to show you, because as you read right there, it says, and he said. Who said? Satan said, because he's a being. He's a man, a black man with nappy hair, as any black man in a nappy hair would whirl, but he's a spiritual man. He's not a physical man. That means he doesn't have blood running through his veins. Okay? So the Vatican, all right, which worships Satan, know this for a fact, as I've shown you right here, that they're praying to a black Madonna. All right? Even the Asians who worship Buddha still keep those sacred paintings and pictures and statues of Buddha as a case. Some of them have tried to copycat or make it white, but some of them still maintain it, still hallow it, because they know for a fact that they may not know, all Asians know, but the guys who run the world, who run that part of Asia, they know their history. They know that they came from black folk. And here's Pope John Paul praying to another picture of a black Madonna right there. And these guys, see, the paintings here are black. This is what the Pope who runs the world does. Prays to a black painting. And here's another picture of Buddha with the cornrows and nightly curls, showing you that that's a black man. But let's go into understanding. Let's keep moving on forward to show you that the culture of Asia, even up till today, permits inbreeding, and to show you how racism as the foundation came to be as what it is, started all in Asia. All right, so let's go further. So in order for us to begin to show you that the culture of inbreeding practiced in Asia, which is the case that brings about albinism, when people are inbreeding amongst themselves. And like we've said, we want to study one of the cultures, or sorry, we want to study the religion, the main religion that's being practiced in Asia, which happens to be the practice of Buddha. Okay. Now, and I showed you a story. I showed you earlier that the Lotus Sutra, which is a type of scripture, as you could refer it to the Bible, is a scriptural references for the practice of Buddha. And I've showed you from this particular webpage that they said that the Lotus Sutra, which is actually white or Mahayana Buddhism, is white. Okay, that the Lotus Sutra is white. And I've showed you a picture showing you that the Lotus Sutra was actually black, and is still black. If you go to China, like I said before, you will see that the images of the Lotus Sutra is actually black. And we're still on that same website. You can pause the video at any point in time and go open the link here. Now, here is what I want to show you about the history and the background, because the first thing that they talk about the Lotus Sutra, they say the Lotus Sutra, I'm using their own webpage to see how these people can keep their lies in one perspective, or can keep it truthful all the way along. They tell you the Lotus Sutra, they call the Lotus Sutra White Sutra. The Lotus Sutra, or Sutra on the White Lotus. They call it Lotus. But when we read through this history of the Lotus Sutra, you will actually see that the Lotus Sutra had nothing to do with white or Mahayana Sutra or Mahayana Buddhism as being practiced today in the Sanskrit language. Because the older versions of the Buddha never, ever was written in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a new language altogether, put in place by a king, a Vedic king. I can't remember his name, but he made Sanskrit the official language in India. And from then on, the practice of the Mahayana Buddhism and the caste system. We'll talk about the caste system a little bit later on, but for now we just want to show you the history and background of the Buddha, to show you that it was practiced by black people with nappy hair who brought it, and that area of the world was black and nappy for a while, until the culture of inbreeding within the family gave birth to albinism, and is still being practiced today in Asia. So let me give you the history right here. History and background, okay? Because like I've said before, I've laid all the foundation to start. Now here we go. It says the Lotus Sutra was probably compiled in the 1st century CE in Kashmir, all right, during the 4th Buddhist council of the newly founded Mahayana sect. So you can see Mahayana right there, which I said is the white Buddhism, was new. It clearly says here, was the newly founded sect, newly founded Mahayana sect of Buddhism. Okay? You see that right there. So let's keep on reading. It says, more than 500 years after the death of Sakyamuni Buddha, it is thus not included in the more ancient agamas of Mahayana Buddhism. Now that's another lie, because they already told you that the Mahayana, right, Buddhism was new. All right, and they're saying ancient agamas of Mahayana Buddhism. They can't keep their story straight because it's a lie. You've already seen here, they said that the Lotus Sutra was probably compiled in the 1st century. 1st century is not new. All right? And then they said during the 4th Buddhist Council of the newly founded Mahayana sect of Buddhism. Right? So you can see that the story already is full of lies. But when people are reading this, they don't understand it. These people can't keep their story straight. So let's keep on reading. It said, it is not included in the more ancient agamas. All right. So if the Mahayana sect or Mahayana religion is not included in the ancient agamas, how can you say that the Lotus Sutra, which was written 1 year or in this 1st century of CE in Kashmir, is white? Does it make sense? So let's keep on reading. It says here, it does not include the more ancient agamas. That means there was an ancient practice of Buddhism. The practice of Buddhism today separates Buddhism by language and race. But in the earlier days, it wasn't separated by language or race. And the language in which Buddha was written was not Sanskrit. So that's what I want you guys to take from this as we go on. It says, it is not including the more ancient gamas of Mahayana Buddhism, nor the Sutta Pitaka of the Theravada Buddhists, both of which represent, I want you to hear now, both of which represent the older Buddhist scriptures that can be historically linked to Sakyamuni Buddha himself. Okay? So you can see there, right there and then, that Mahayana Buddhism was a new type of Buddhism introduced into the Asian culture, which separated Buddhism by language and race or ethnicity, as the case should be. Now, we have to go on further to explain the meaning of the caste system, because the Buddhism that is being practiced in Asia, Mahayana or white Buddhism, because when you hear Mahayana, you should just understand it means white Buddhism. It has nothing to do with the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra was never white, but these people want you to believe it is, okay? But even the paintings show you it's black, but they can't try to call it the White Sutra, okay? So let's move on further to explain the caste system. So I want to lay the basic building foundation so you can understand this. First of all, you understand that Buddhism as is being practiced today is practiced under language and race. And that the older Buddhism, the ancient Buddhisms, which still have their relics in the statues that you find all over Asia and in paintings, was not practiced by race. It was not separated by race and language. In fact, the first Buddhist council that put all these things together, the confines or practices of Buddha, was made in Sri Lanka, I think sometime around the 4th century. You guys can look up into that. So let's go further and explain the caste system so we can dive deeper and let you show that the culture in Asia makes albinism possible. Okay, so let's go further. So before we explain the caste system as it's practiced, or to define what a caste system is, let's look into the caste system that is being practiced in India. But what I want you guys to notice is that it wasn't just India that was practicing the caste system. It was practiced all through the area of Asia. And I'm going to tell you why that the caste system is being practiced today is not the caste system that was being practiced in ancient times. It's been changed by the religion of Buddha, separating Buddha into the practice of the religion by race and by language. Okay, that's what I intend to show you. But first of all, let's see how the Indian caste system is practiced. So like I've said before, I want you to hear clearly. The caste system was practiced all through Asia. All right. The Indian system is just a type of caste system that was practiced through all Asia. I want you to remember that. The whole Asian countries. India is just one of them. So we just want to take a particular example here and just show you how it was practiced all through the area or continent of Asia. Okay. So in the Indian caste system, it says Although many Hindus subscribe to the belief that one is born into a certain caste, this belief is not supported by their scriptures. Okay? So they say, now that goes to show you that the caste system that is being practiced today, all right, in India, and which was practiced way back in the times of Asia, was not supported by the old Buddhist, ancient Buddhist religion, which I just showed you that there was an older Buddhist religion which did not separate people or separate the practice of the religion by language and race. But today that is done. So I'm just showing you this. You can pause the video at any point in time and copy out the link, because that's the link that I'm reading from, so you can actually see and understand yourself. So it says, although many Hindus subscribe to the belief that one is born into a certain caste system, this belief is not supported by their scriptures. The caste system in India was degenerated into a system falsely recognizing men born in Brahmin families as Brahmins, even though they did not exhibit the qualities of Brahmins. This has caused so many problems. So that, in a nutshell, should just tell you what was going on. There was a caste system in India. So that's why it's saying here the caste system is in India was degenerated. That means it is not what it is that is being practiced today. But there was a caste system, and there was a reason for that caste system, which I'm going to let you understand right here and now. But first of all, let's understand the definition of caste, the word caste, before we go any further. All right, so let's move on. So I'm on a wiki page, all right, to explain the meaning of the word caste. As usual, people will say, I love using Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is not correct. Oh, yes, we do. Wikipedia is not correct. So that's why when you study, you have to study with discernment and be able to separate the lies from the truth that is going to be told you by Wikipedia. So I typed in the caste system in India here, right, as you can see from this particular lineup here, caste system in India, on Wikipedia, and I'm going to read the word to see because the study of the word will always make you know the history behind it. Okay, so if you're someone who's just reading, if you're the simple-minded trying to read understand this caste in the Wikipedia page, you might be confused because it says the term caste is not an Indian word. Okay, why are they trying to tell you it's not an Indian word? Because they're trying to hide racism, all right? So people can't come to grasp with it. So if you start studying racism, you wouldn't know that it started in Asia, and we're going to show you why it came up that way, okay? Now, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, it is derived from the Portuguese casta. They're still hiding facts, meaning race. But here's the part that I want you guys to take notice of. Forget about everything I said up till here, all right? I'm starting the meaning from here, showing you what the meaning of caste is. Caste says here, meaning race, lineage, breed, and originally pure or unmixed stock breed. So that should show you what is going on there. But for people who are simple-minded, they will tend to understand, because the way we've been come to understand mixed breed, when we say mixed breed, it means that a black person is mixed with the albino. So now in today's world, the white supremacists has made us to understand that being pure breed means you're white. Okay? But that's a lie. Because the caste system that was practiced in Asia, which I've showed you from this particular web page here, let me show you. Where's that web page again? Sorry, I'm trying to flip through my web pages here. Okay, this particular web page shows you that the caste system in India degenerated into what it is today. It was not practiced that way. So that means way back in history, the caste system was trying to keep blacks, all right, and the whites, which were albinos, or the albinos, white. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but let's just understand this first of all. So The meaning of caste, caste means race, lineage, breed. 3 words. All right. I want you to pay particular attention. Race, lineage, breed, and originally pure or unmixed stock breed. Okay. Don't worry about anything else you're going to be reading here, because this is all this information. All this is this information. Don't worry about that. I want you to understand what caste means first, because white supremacists like hiding stuff, so you don't understand what it means. All right. It says caste means race, lineage, breed, and originally pure unmixed stock breed. Now, in today's world, we've made to understand that if you're a mixed breed, that means you're black and white. If you're pure breed, then you're white. Okay. But the caste that was practiced, as this webpage shows you, which degenerated into what it is today, was not that. Pure breed meant black, right? Unpure means black and albino mixed together, and the unpure were white. Now, why was that the case is the question we need to understand. All right. So now we go back to Buddhism. Buddhism as a religion wasn't practiced as is being practiced today, which separates people by language and race. So here's what happened. The culture in Asia was a culture of inbreeding. And some people will ask the question, how was it a culture? It's a culture because when you study your Bible, the first people that the Bible takes notice of that started practicing the culture of inbreeding were the children of Lot. Now remember, Lot, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. Lot escaped with his wife and 2 daughters. And according to the instruction of God Almighty, they were not supposed to be looking back at Sodom and Gomorrah. And Lot's wife turned back and looked and turned into a stone of salt. So Lot and his 2 children escaped into a cave, and they lived there for a while. The daughters thought that the world had ended according to what the Bible says. And they said, okay, let our seed not end with us. So let us sleep with our father and make children. So the culture of inbreeding started with Lot. So when this started with Lot, it would mean that the people that later on practiced this culture could possibly be the Asians, the ancient Asians. Does it make sense now? Okay, so let's dive in deeper to make you understand this a little bit more. So we're going to see that now you've got to understand that there was a caste system in the world, in ancient Asia, but it's not the caste system that is being practiced today. The caste system, according to this, separated people by race, lineage, breed, and originally pure on a mixed stock breed. And I've made you to understand right here and then that the unpure or the pure breed were blacks. The mixed, it's an original practice of the caste system in Asia. The pure people were blacks. The mixed were whites and blacks, all right? And the unpure were whites. But today it's been in the reverse, okay? So I just want you to understand that first of all. So let's go on further to see if the culture of inbreeding is really true in Asia. And I'm going to point you to a couple of websites. Now, the first website I'm going to point you you can actually pause the video and copy out the link right here. It says, why do Pakistanis marry their cousins? Now, remember we showed you that Pakistanis in Asia were from on earlier, showing you the countries that we call Asian countries. Now, if you go to this particular website, you can pause the video, copy out the link. It says, why do Pakistanis marry their cousins? It's a practice in Asia. Now, the reason why they say cousins here, because when white people try to hide stuff, the albinos, because that's who they truly are, they don't want to show you that it's practiced within the nuclear family. That means a brother can marry a sister or vice versa, as the case may be. They say cousins. But I want you to know that it is beyond cousins, because I'm going to show you proof. If you watch Indian movies, you see that they take a lot of, cousins and brothers and sister relationships very more seriously beyond the normal. If you watch anime movies in Japan, all right, or kung fu movies that come from China, or the case may be, you see that this brother-sister relationship is shown more in the culture. They take things very personal. They're very emotional about their brothers and sisters. They take revenge. They fight in whether anime, kung fu movies. Sorry, as I wanted to say, kung fu movies or any other movies. They take this whole thing seriously. Why? Because it's a culture of inbreeding. When you watch anime movies right now, any movies made in Japan, kung fu movies, Indian movies, you see this being displayed. But we don't understand it because for certain other people, they don't understand that it is not just a movie you're watching. It is a culture you're watching, that inbreeding is practiced. All right? In Asia. I'm going to show you some other websites, but let's read into this one. It says here, let's read into this website a little more. It says, incest is almost a common practice in many of the societies in various countries. Muslims argue that marrying first cousins is just not the practice in their society, but also seen in Christian and Hindu communities. When we compare incest with marrying the first cousin, cousin marriage tends to be somewhat better than the former. If the first cousin is a sister or brother, they get married in Muslim community and they consider it as a religious act. Not only Pakistanis, even Hindus they still practice it, okay? I'll show you that in a second. Cousin marriages are avoided these days as per the scientific explanation, as they may result in health problems, means albinism, all right? Many Muslim Hindus and other people believing in marrying first cousins. First cousin is the child of aunt or uncle. Some people consider marrying a cousin is like marrying a sibling or parent and is an awkward feeling, while it is respected by most. So, it is a common culture in Asia, whether the places be any place in Asia at all, that siblings, the marrying or inbreeding of siblings is a norm. They don't see it as anything. All right? So, for example, if you see a lot of Japanese take to their brothers and sisters very, very seriously. They don't play around. I mean, it's more like someone trying to date. I don't know if you've ever been in that kind of relationship that you're trying to date a woman or a woman is trying to date a man, and the brother or sister have to agree before you go on, such that you kind of ask them, what the hell is going on here? So what have you got to do with your brother? Is he going to marry you? They take it very seriously. It's a culture in all these Asian countries. So let me move on to another website to show you that is a culture. All right. Now, I found this website because because you know how you've watched so many movies over a period of time and a lot of things didn't make any sense to you. Like you watch anime movies, the brothers, they have this sibling kind of love that is so crazy, and you didn't understand it. Because I love watching anime movies. I still watch anime movies. Or you watch Indian movies in which brothers, sisters, and cousins, they're also in a loving kind of relationship. It's because it's the culture in Asia. It's the culture that gives rise to albinism, and we're going to explain that later on to make you understand how the caste system was put in place in Asia and then degenerated right under the practice of the white Buddhism or Mahayana Buddhism, brought about by the white albinos into the into the culture to separate the blacks that were in power, who called themselves the pure breeds, that were separate from the whites. Okay, so we'll make you understand that all in a second. So here is a website. The website here says it's called you can actually pause the video. I'm not going to read it. Pause the video and copy out the link and go read about it. Now, the website actually says, why do people marry their cousins in the South Asian subcontinent, right? Why do people marry their cousins? So it goes to show you that the culture permits inbreeding, which causes albinism. Okay, so it says, why do people, as you can see right here, it says, why do people marry their cousins in the South Asian subcontinent? So pull out I'm not going to read anymore right there, but you can, like I said, you can pause the video and copy out the link, like I said earlier, and go study. Now, it says here, it is a forum in which people ask questions. It says here, it's a cultural thing, yes, but there aren't any awareness programs in regards to the possible medical defects that the kids can have as a result of this kind of marriages. And I would like to know how many of you feel okay with it. So it's a culture. So when something is a culture, people don't question it because it's the norm. All right? So the reason why we don't get to understand it, the people who are outside of it, is because you are not inside the culture, so you don't see it. But for the people who are inside the culture, I mean, it's a normal thing. All right. It says here. Let's go reading into the forum just to see what it says here. The reasons behind it. It says people don't like to give their children to strangers. They don't want to lose them. Plus, if it's their own family, then they can watch over them and still have them close. Then it says, I don't have anything against cousin marriages. If both parties are happy, then so be it. Although I don't think you should continuously marry into the family. It's just not healthy. In Britain, a baroness has set up a charity to fight against cousin marriages amongst Asians, namely Pakistanis, because of the birth defects it's having on children. I personally would prefer not to marry a cousin and to have no intention of doing so. So you can go through this particular forum and see that it is practiced in almost every country that has to say it's Asia. So that's why when you take a look at the map of the world, let me just show you that. So when you take a look at the world map, you see that this area right here has a concentration of a lot of people with straight hair, all right, albinic skin, much more than this area right here. That is because this was a culture practiced around this area. And so and over the years, as they keep inbreeding amongst themselves, the albinism strain or traits kept on making the people with much more straighter hair and lighter skin possible. All right. And the cultures that weren't practicing it as much, because remember, incest is practiced everywhere, but the cultures that don't practice it as much maintain the woolly, nappy hair resemblance. So as you've known before, we've shown you that it started right here, that the act of racism started right here, and when these guys invaded into Europe, and when blacks were infighting among themselves here, gave them the possibility for them to look into Europe. Then from then, they entered into every other place and started enslaving every other black people, is because of the caste system that was invented here. So now we have to answer the question why the caste system was invented in Asia. So let's go back into that definition and show you what's going on. So the caste system originally, the reason why it was invented was this, okay? Since the culture started by Lot and his children were practiced, black people was being a practice in so many cultures, especially in Asia, the black people started noticing that the population, they were giving birth to children that came out with straight hair and albinic skin and white skin, all right, albinic skin. So the blacks who they were there and in power over, because this is something that is happening over time, came up with a caste system, because they found out, because this is normal and natural science, that the children they were giving birth to, all right, which happened to be albinos, were weaker. They had problems with sunlight, which is always the case with albinism. Problems with they had problems with everything. They couldn't stay in the sun. They got sick. They were sickly and everything else. So they invented a caste system because these people were not weak enough to be able to do what they were supposed to keep the society going on. So they made sure, they said, okay, you guys are too weak. You guys are not strong enough because you're suffering from all these, genetic problems or whatsoever. So you can be rulers of society. So they invented a caste system that separated people by lineage and breed, so that if you were white, or albinic in nature, you couldn't move up the ladder because you were seen to be a genetic trait. So they themselves, or it's only the black people with woolly nappy hair that maintained the system, maintained the system or ruled over the others who were not of pure breed as they were. Does it make sense? So let me just show you what the caste system looks like in India, just to give you a notion of how it was practiced throughout the whole entire region of Asia. Okay, let's look at a little caste here. So the caste system in India looks like this. You have the Brahmins, which are considered priests. So they used to be the highest ruling, ranking members of society, the priests, all right? That's where you have like the Buddha priest being the statues of Buddha and all that. They were called the enlightened one. It's a title, okay? And remember, like I've shown you before, Buddhism wasn't practiced by, as is practiced today, which is separated by race and linguistic or language, but it was just had a different language and everybody practiced it. So the highest member were called priests. Now you had warriors and rulers, okay? And then you had skilled traders, merchants, and minor officials. You have unskilled workers, and then you have outcasts, untouchables, children of God. So this, as it's practiced in India today, this shows you how the society was rearranged. But under the original caste system, it wasn't this way at all. It just was practiced this way. It wasn't practiced into separating people into this kind of casting to show you where you belonged, all right? But it was practiced this way based on how pure or of less of an albino you were. It is segregation in a way, but it was segregation because of the genetic defects that albinism brings, which makes people weaker, genetically inferior, which is a fact even today. So that's why, for example, you have white people with horrible skin and black people with nicer skin, because it's a genetic defect. That lack of melanin caused by inbreeding causes that. Okay? So the caste system here was practiced this way: under race, lineage, breed, and originally pure on mixed stock or breed. So this is what happens now. The culture permits, as we have proven, as it's shown you, that the culture permits inbreeding. So when there's a pervasive culture, you can't stop it, because as long as you're inbreeding, you're always continually going to be breeding or bringing albinism. Does it make sense? So the blacks that were ruling under the caste system were at a detriment. The population is getting wider because of inbreeding. Okay? You can't stop it. So sooner or later, because the culture is there, it kept on being practiced. The population getting wider because it's a culture, having straighter hair, the nappy hair is getting out. Before you know it, the caste system that was practiced to make these people, to keep the blacks in power, is now a problem. So the white people, or the albinos, that the population was increasing because the culture is allowing that over time, became much more numerous than the black people who call themselves the pure breed, the woolly hair, the priests who were running society. Sooner or later, they got killed. Does it make sense? So that is the same thing that the white supremacists are practicing today. They understand the fact that this is what happened in Asia, that inbreeding, that if you say that you are black and you are ruling over people that are white with albinic skin, and they are increasing more in number, sooner or later you are going to be knocked out, because you can be ruling people that you look different from. So the white supremacists today understand that, based on the caste system in India, that this is how this happened. So in order not to allow that happen in today's world, they encourage the world to be whiter, and racism is used, okay, to make sure that the world doesn't get darker, but should be maintained as a white, so they can maintain themselves in power. So the same thing that the blacks did in Asia in trying to protect themselves from a culture that they didn't know, because you have to understand that these blacks in Asia, the priests or the people who were ruling society, did not know the reason why the population was getting whiter. They didn't know. They didn't know that their culture was making it whiter and producing more albinic people. Does it make sense? So if they knew that, they probably would have tried to stop it. But it's a culture. You can't stop people from practicing their culture. But the white supremacists today know this for sure. Okay? So they know the reason for albinism. They know that. And they know that genetically, blacks, being black is the natural color, being black is superior. So you have to you have to put a system in place that maintains you in power, so that the population doesn't get darker. Just like it happened in Asia, the population got whiter because of the culture. All right? So that is what happened. And that is what the basis for, the practice of racism started in Asia. And so from then on forwards, it wiped out the black people and made them, the black people with nappy hair, made them a smaller and smaller number until they finally took over. So this is one of the cases. I've already showed this before on the myth of whiteness, in which is this a village in India in which you still have black people with nappy hair. These are the people, these are the surviving people, like for example in India, who didn't get caught up with the albinism. They were probably, I'm thinking they are probably the surviving pure breed, the people who classified themselves as pure breed in India, who ruled over India, all right, who didn't mix. For some reason, they would have kept that understanding among themselves that if in order for you to be pure breed, you shouldn't be inbreeding with your nuclear family. They would have kept this kind of knowledge. These are the last surviving people in India which still have nappy hair and still have, African features. You can pause the video and copy out the link. It's already on the myth of whiteness, but I'm gonna put that on for you guys to see that. So these are the last surviving people who still abide in India. They say there are at least 220,000 of an African origin ethnic tribe who have been living in India for centuries. So this would have been the last surviving pure breeds, as they called them, under the original caste system. All right. So like I said, this is what happened, and before you know it, the whites became, because the culture permits it, and albinism is perpetuated by inbreeding, they took over the surviving black people and knocked them out. Because if you remember the story of Benjamin Franklin, in which he said that the world was primarily made of black people, it would have suggested that it's after 1751, all right, in which the surviving, it would be around that period after 1751, in which the surviving remaining black people got knocked off, and the world became and then from then the instigation of the caste system, which was introduced in Asia, became reversed, right? And now blacks were made to be the inferior, because that's what the caste system in India did. So once the Buddhism became separated by language, all right, by language and race, once that happened, as the blacks became smaller due to the main blacks with woolly nappy hair became smaller because the culture was inbreeding and making more albinos possible. Once you were black, all right, woolly nappy hair, all right, speaking a certain language and practicing a certain kind of Buddhism, you were labeled to be lower in class. The people, because when Mahayana Buddhism got introduced, and the population and the culture is permitting inbreeding, which breeds albinism, right? The whiter people became more, right? The black people became less. So immediately you were segregated, and that's how racism came in place. You were lower class, second class citizens, and it is being practiced today in the world. So this is how I wanted to show you, with proof that the culture in Asia permits inbreeding, which causes albinism. And that will always refer you back to the Bible. You can read in Leviticus chapter number 18 the reason why. So a lot of stuff starts making sense why God did not permit inbreeding, because it weakened the nature of man. All right? It weakened the nature of man. As you can see, it says, none of you shall approach to any that is near of skin. You can read in Leviticus chapter number 18, King James Version, or Geneva Bible. You can read from verse number 6 all the way down. It shows you what you're not supposed to do as having sexual relationships with family members, because it weakens the nature of man. So the Bible is very, very real. There is no mistake about it. So you have to understand that the reason why all this is happening, like I've said before, the world we live in, things are not happening by chance. It's not a coincidence. All right, we are being influenced by so many things, because it's not. Let me tell you something. It's not a coincidence that inbreeding is practiced as a culture. You have to understand there is something behind it. It's just not normal. Because when you understand like the book of Enoch and what the book of Enoch talks about, in that demons or evil spirits are children of the fallen angels, you have to understand, people will say fallen angels still exist in this world. No, they don't. Not at this point. You have demons. And the Bible says the demons are concealed. That means they cannot hurt anybody. So even though they're around in spirit form, they cannot hurt you. They cannot talk to you. They have no access to talking to you. The only way they can have access talking to you is by possessing or infiltrating someone's mind, and then maybe talking to you and giving you demonic advice. And we have a lot of demonic advices now, because the Vatican has opened the door through greed and selfishness, all right, and pride. Because once you have greed or selfishness and pride, you're always going to be susceptible to demonic influence and demonic activity, because that's the gateway for demons to be able to infiltrate your mind. A demon may not possess you, but you'll be influenced with so much demonic advice that your mind is controlled by so many wrong thoughts. That's just the best way to put it. That's just the best way to put it. The best example I can give is like if you've watched this, there's a movie by Denzel Washington called Fallen, all right, in which Denzel Washington is trying to catch somebody who happens to be a killer, and he finds out that the personality of the killer keeps changing from person to person, and he keeps changing this thing. Keeps changing from person to person, and finally, at the end of the day, that entity even invades, Denzel Washington. But that is a fact and story of how we get influence in this world, all right? But even though in Denzel Washington's movie, it's actually a lie, but that's a clear example, all right? So when you have pride, you have greed, you have greediness and selfishness, you're always going to be opening up yourself to demonic advice. He could influence someone. So we have a lot of demonic advice circulating all around the world, because people are pride, greedy, and selfish. And that's always going to be a doorway. All right. So it is not a coincidence that all these things happened this way, and that the world is shaped the way it is. We have people inbreeding. It's all because of demonic activity, trying to separate people away from the lineage of God. So it is not a coincidence that all these things happened around the world, and they invaded all the countries, which would have shown us that God is real. For example, Egypt, we don't have black people in Egypt anymore, or that northern part of Africa up to Israel and all that kind of stuff. It's not a coincidence. And these people managed to, albinos managed to, get into Europe and infiltrate Europe. It's not a coincidence. All this is planned. It's planned because people are opening themselves up to demonic advice and activity by being greedy, selfish, and prideful. That's just fact. The Bible even says that. All right. Let me just show you from the Bible so you guys can actually see what I'm saying. Let me show you. All right. So I'm going to be reading from Romans chapter number 1. I'm reading from verse number 20. All right. Just to show you that how these things happen. It says, because once the knowledge of God is lost, you're going to be susceptible to demonic activity and demonic advice. That is just fact. Because once you've opened up yourself to being greedy and selfish and prideful, which are the doorways for demonic advice by someone else, a demon may not possess you, but he may influence you through someone else by giving you advice. And we have a lot of demonic advice, for example, on TV, because all the people that we watch on TV are selfish, prideful, or greedy. Greediness and selfishness is the same thing. Selfish just means you're hoarding and not giving. Greedy means you're just hoarding. All right? You want to hoard everything. You want to get everything. At the expense, you don't care who's involved at the expense of anybody else but yourself. All right, so let me just read from Romans chapter number 1 from verse 20. It says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are not made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Okay, let me try to read a little bit slowly, okay? For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, by being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God. So I want you to see the operative words here. It says, when they knew God, all right, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Pride, all right? And changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like unto corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up. So once the knowledge of God is lost, you are given up to demons. All right? Gave them up to uncleanness through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshiped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause, God gave them up to vile affections. Can you see that? So God is the one giving you up. When you have no knowledge of God, because you are you're proudful, you're selfish, or you're greedy, God gives you up to demons. And you start having vile affections. What is vile affections talking about? It's talking about the same thing here that it's talking about in Genesis chapter number 3. Oh, sorry. Did I say Genesis chapter number 3? Leviticus. I was trying to talk about. Let me actually open that up again. All right. So here's what I was trying to talk about. The vile affections, nakedness of thy father, mother, and all that, because someone has chosen not to have the knowledge of God that it's talking about here. So you're given up to vile affections because you're now being influenced by demons. For even, because if you continue reading, he says, for even their women did change the natural use. Let me see here. It says, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust toward one another, men with men, walking that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meat. Because they've changed the truth about God. All right? So God gives you up to vile affections. All the vile affections of you lusting over your mother, your brother, your sister, and homosexuality as being practiced, because the knowledge of God is lost. So God gives you up to demonic advice and influence. That's just fact. So let's just finish up the video with a transvestigation of Russell Brand, and that's just what I wanted to share with you, so you can understand that the culture of albinism and where the racism all started in Asia because of the culture. All right, the culture gave rise to albinism. Blacks tried to protect themselves from the influence, all right, by imputing a caste system into the system, and the caste system did not work because the culture did not change. So when the culture did not change, the blacks got run over, by the albinos, who are white people, and those albinos reversed the caste system, imputed it into religion through Buddhism, and they're using it still till today, the caste system, to make sure that they maintain themselves in power, because the caste system introduced by the black was to keep themselves in power, or is not really like keep themselves in power, that's correct, but also to make sure that they didn't have weak people running over them, or people they certified or they thought were not strong enough to rule society. And it's the same thing that the white supremacist albinos today are practicing against the blacks. The blacks who have no idea about that culture, all right, have no idea about that caste system. That's just what is being practiced today. So let's finish up the transvestigation of Russell Brand, and then we can move further. We stopped right here. So next picture on Russell Brand is this one. As you can see, he has an arch in his back because this is a very strange looking female with beard. All right, Russell Brand is a woman. Another picture of Russell Brand, as you can see, he has hips, and the indentation point is above his navel because that's where his waist is at. As you can see, he's spreading downwards. I don't know what that is, but that looks very fake. It's not real. It shouldn't be hanging that way. All right. Another picture of Russell Brand, as you can see, clear arch in the back and a very large hips. And this pelvis is tilted forward because Russell Brand is a woman. All right. Another picture of Russell Brand right here, and you can see clear arch in the back. Clear arch in the back because this is a woman. Another picture of Russell Brand, as you can see, the Q angle, right, where the hip starts tapering out. All right, it's below the crotch. That is his crotch right there, and it's below it, below the crotch, not above, because Russell Brand is a woman. Arch in the back. All right, he's been lying to you, deceiving you, and this is what the Vatican puts on TV for you guys to watch. You go watch his comedy shows and follow him all around, and you think that you're actually following a dude when you're factually looking at a very funny woman. It's not a man. All right, look at that. That pubic arch is way too wide. See the way he spreads those legs? That's how a female spreads her legs. Because if you see the angle is way too wide from the separation of the thighs, because this is a woman sitting. It's not a man. A man can spread his legs that wide if he wanted to sit in this position because his pubic arch is narrower. Okay, that is that. So with that, I've come to the end of today's video. I hope you learned something. And like I said before, it's going to be an open-ended series. If we find something that is pertinent to disclose and make you understand your world about the myth of whiteness, then we'll bring it up. And I don't want people leaving me any crazy comments. Like I said, I put out warnings. It was a long video. If you're racist and prejudiced, there was no need for you to watch. If you don't believe in the Bible, no need for you to watch. And that's just that. All right, I've come to the end of today's video. I thank you guys for listening. Subscribe and stay tuned, and I'll leave you with these words as usual. Look with your eyes and see with your brain. Thanks. Bye-bye.